Everyone, it's Shar. Welcome back to my channel. First of all, this feels very weird because I never have my bangs out when they're curly. So looking at myself like this feels funky. But hello, happy midway through June. In the beginning of June, I did a kind of June TBR of sorts, telling you about some of the queer books that were on my radar to read this month. And I promised that I would do a part 2, telling you about some of the books that I have on Kindle Unlimited currently that are queer that I will be reading this month. So without further ado, let's jump onto the video and let me tell you about the books on my KU TBR. So the first one is Honeythorn by Marina Vivancos. I think that's correct. This is actually an Omegaverse Regency romance. So in this story, we are following our hero, Milan, and Milan is an Omega, and Milan has been betrothed to an Alpha who is a lord in a very Arctic, cold kind of setting. So he goes and he's very hesitant because he's heard rumors that his new husband is very cold and distant and cruel, but he's a romantic and he's hoping that these rumors are not true. But unfortunately, when he gets there and he meets his new husband, Raphael, he realizes that the rumors are true and his husband is very distant and cold, and this is the story of their love and how they come together. It's non-shifter Omegaverse, but it's also Regency romance, which I think is going to be such a fun read. And disclaimer here, when I made this list, all of the books are on Kindle Unlimited. I think that they're still all on KU, but if they've left, my apologies. I have A Soul to Steal by Opal Rain. This is part of her Duskwalker Bride series, and in this one is an monster romance, which if you can tell by the grin on my face, I'm always looking for more queer monster romances, and I feel like they're very difficult to find. So this was a super exciting book for me, especially because it's already part of a series that I love. So in this story, we are following Gideon, and Gideon has passed away, and he's woken up in the afterlife. It's very strange and bizarre to him, and he's really struggling, but he ends up finding friendship in one of our Duskwalkers, and this one is Ilarion. And Ilarion just wants a friend. He's very lonely. He's been separated from his twin brother, and he and Gideon form a friendship, but of course it's a monster romance, so it's going to turn into love. I just really adore this series. I will tell you that it's pretty high fantasy in terms of the world development, but if you like monster romances and you like those fantasy elements, this series is really good, though it's not like companion series. Technically, I'm sure that you could read this as a companion, but it's the sixth book, something like that in the series, and you'd be pretty lost if you just jump straight to this one. So throughout June, I'm actually reading book 4 and book 5 so that I can get to this book, which I believe is book 6. And I have another sapphic romance, and this one is also a monster romance. This is The Succubus Prize by Katie Robert. I am loving all of the queer monster romances, and this is part of, like, I'm forgetting what the series is called. I think it's called A Deal with a Demon, which is book 4 in this series, although they are companion series and you don't have to read them sequentially. But in this book, we are following a woman named Belladonna, and Belladonna has had a very difficult life. She's done a lot of things that she is not proud of in order to survive, but as she gets older, she finds herself feeling crushed by the weight of guilt, especially when one of her actions that she did led to the loss of an innocent life. And as such, she ends up making a deal with a demon to kind of try to assuage her guilt. So she ends up getting bid off to this succubus named Rizulka. And Rizulka is very excited to have Belladonna with her. However, Belladonna is taking on this subservient role because of her guilt. She is really trying to kind of pay penance for what she's done, but Rizulka's not really into that. She's trying her best to take care of Belladonna and allow her to feel safety within her home, but she wants Belladonna to be her life partner, not to be her servant. So this is their romance. I've really enjoyed The Dragon's Bride, which was book 1 in this series, and this is a sapphic monster romance, so of course I'm going to give it a go, and I'll let you all know what I think of it when I finish it. The next book that I have for you is Tempting Olivia by Claire Ashton. Claire Ashton wrote this book here, which I did really like. I gave it 4 stars, but this one has a very fun premise that I think is going to work for me. So Tempting Olivia is the story of this lawyer who has very high standards for herself and everyone around her. She has made partner at her firm, term, one of the youngest people to do so. She has first from Oxford, and generally she leads a very strict life, except that she loves romance movies and rom-coms. And one day she ends up getting a new client who is going through a very messy divorce. And this new client happens to also be an actress. And this is their love story. The reason why I think this is going to work for me is that premise just generally sounds like fun and messy and rom-com-y, but also because I know that I like Claire Ashton's writing style, and this has a little bit of a Hollywood subsetting. Not Hollywood because they're obviously in the UK, but Hollywood subsetting, and that one of the love interests in this sapphic romance is an actress. So once again, I will let you know what I think of this once I finish it. And I have Those Who Wait by Haley Cass. Haley Cass wrote a book that I absolutely adored with my whole heart, which was also a sapphic romance. I will have it right here because I don't remember the name of it, but it's this one. And Those Who Wait is a story of Sutton. And Sutton is in grad school. She is about to complete her degree in 1 year, and she's kind of feeling lost. The only thing that Sutton really knows that she wants a long-term romantic partner. So she is on dating apps looking for the love of her life and trying to avoid the existential dread of figuring out what exactly she wants to do with her life. In contrast to Sutton, we have our other heroine, Charlotte. And Charlotte has a very clear path for her future. She knows exactly what she wants and exactly how to get there, and she has no time for nonsense. And in Charlotte's mind, nonsense also includes pursuing romantic relationship. It's not something that she has an interest in. She loves the casual, clear-cut hookups. That is what she is looking for. But Charlotte and Sutton end up meeting on a dating app. They realize pretty much right away that they're only destined to be friends, and the story goes from there. I'm imagining it's going to turn into friends to lover. I know that this author does friends to lovers so well, so I'm very excited to read this. Sorry if the angle changed, besties. I truly have no idea where I left you because I had to jump on a call. The next book is Outdrawn by Deanna Gray, which, yes, I still have not read this yet, but I'm still very excited to read this. In this one, we are following two comic artists. One is someone who is just getting started in her career. One of her comics went viral, and she ends up getting this job at this kind of comic company, publishing company that she really admires, and she's competing for this role with someone who was like her childhood idol because she wrote this graphic novel series that she was absolutely obsessed with. It is a workplace rivals to lovers sapphic romance. I have Most Ardently, which is a Pride and Prejudice retelling. In this one, we are following a young man named Oliver, and Oliver is a trans man feeling suffocated by society because in his day-to-day life, he is forced to live as a woman, and that just makes him really uncomfortable. He feels like no one knows who he is, so at nighttime, he finally gets to be himself, go out onto the streets, and just live his life as a gentleman. When doing this, he ends up meeting Darcy, who was once rude to Oliver when he was dressed as a woman in his day-to-day life, and they strike up a friendship. I've never read Pride and Prejudice, but this is a trans historical romance. As you all know, I am in my historical romance era, so I'm really hoping that I enjoy this. And I have Role-Playing. This one is a story who I believe features a demisexual main character, and it is two characters who are a little bit older. We have our main female character, Maggie, and Maggie's son has just moved away to university, and she's trying to like settle into life, but not fully become a hermit, and she ends up finding this online community of gamers. They play Dungeons and Dragons, and because it's remote, she's just like, fine, whatever, I'll do this. I'll try to have a social life in the way that I feel comfortable. And she has a very close friend who she ends up hitting it off with in this D&D group. She assumes it's like some 20-something, but they agree to meet up at some point, and she realizes, oh, this is a grown man. He's about her age, and they end up falling into a relationship. It sounds super cute and sweet, and I am very excited to read this book, especially because I do believe it has demisexual representation. Then I have Loving the Legend, which is an MM sports romance. We have basketball. I was gonna say hockey. It's not hockey, it's basketball. So in this story, we're following Ty, who was just drafted into the NBA, and he's very excited. It has been his lifelong dream, but he's even more excited because he ends up on the same team as his childhood idol, Sid, who is at the top of his game, about to enter like the legends of basketball players, and was just voted the sexiest man alive. He and I end up hitting it off, and this is their romance. I haven't heard a lot about this, but the little that I've heard has been very good. So I will go into this cautiously and will let you know my thoughts. Then I have the rest of the story, which is an sports romance in hockey. In this story, we are following, I actually don't know his name because it's not in the summary, but he is a kind of playboy hockey player, really not into relationships, really just kind of enjoying his life until he is traded to the worst team in the NHL. They are truly horrible, and he is now their team captain, and he is trying to get them to fall in love with the sport again, to be a great team, and to bring them all together. I've heard that this is very sweet, and he ends up falling for one of the players on the team. I know that this author does the whole team players in the same team sports romance very, very well. His last book that I read was super emotional, so I'm ready to dive into this one. I've heard it's wholesome and sweet and mildly heartbreaking, so I'm really looking forward to getting into it. With that said, besties, that does bring us to the end of this video. Let me know if you've read any of these books, or if there's any of these books that you think I should prioritize, that you would want to see in a reading vlog. But with that said, I am going to let you go. Thank you so much for watching. If you did get to the end of the video, you can leave me a little hockey stick emoji or like a basketball emoji, just to let me know that you've gotten to this point, and I am going to see you in my next video. Bye!